The sky was gray over the small town, and there was a strange kind of silence in the air. Something was different. People gathered near the old military rehab center. No one told them to come. They just felt something important was about to happen. They didn't know what. They didn't know why. But they came anyway. Some came with flowers. Some brought photographs. Few came in wheelchairs, helped by family or volunteers. The crowd was not loud. It was quiet. A deep kind of quiet, like everyone was holding their breath. Even the children stayed close to their parents, watching, waiting. There were whispers. Is it a ceremony? Is someone famous coming? Why today? But no one had clear answers. The only thing they knew was that something meaningful was about to unfold. And then, suddenly, it did. A black car turned slowly onto the path. It didn't make noise. It didn't have flashing lights or a crowd of reporters. It came quietly, as if it was meant to surprise, not to show off. The doors opened, and out stepped Prince William, then Princess Kate. For a few seconds, no one moved. The crowd just stared, not believing their eyes. Was this real? Were the royal couple truly here in this small, forgotten place? A soft gasp moved through the crowd. Some people covered their mouths. One older man whispered, "They actually came." It was not a grand royal entrance. It was gentle, kind. They didn't walk like they were above anyone. They walked like they belonged there. Like they came not as royals, but as people who cared. Kate walked toward the crowd first. She smiled softly, her eyes full of warmth. She saw a little girl standing close to her mother, holding a hand-drawn picture. Without a word, Kate bent down. "Is that for me?" she asked sweetly. The girl nodded, too shy to speak. Kate took the picture with care, as if it was a treasure. "It's beautiful," she said, then gave the girl a soft hug. The girl's mother broke into tears. "She's been afraid to leave the house," the mother whispered. "But when we heard someone special might come, she asked to come here." William had already moved toward a group of wounded soldiers. Some were standing, some were sitting in chairs. One young man, no older than 25, had no legs. His eyes were sharp but tired. William shook his hand firmly. "Thank you for your service," he said. The man tried to smile, but his voice cracked. "Didn't expect to meet you here, sir." "Oh," William replied. "This is exactly where I'm supposed to be." Another man standing nearby had a photograph in his hand. It was his brother. His brother had died during service 2 years ago. He had come here today just to feel close to something good. Kate saw the photo and walked over. "May I see it?" she asked. He handed it to her. She stared at the picture for a moment and looked him in the eyes. "I'm so sorry for your loss," she said softly. "He will never be forgotten." The man broke. He didn't try to hold it back, cried openly. And Kate placed her hand on his arm, not letting go. A few in the crowd started crying too, not loud sobs. Just quiet, real tears that had waited. Too long to be released? One woman in the back, holding a folded flag close to her chest, whispered, "I feel like they came just for us." A volunteer nurse, standing near the door, couldn't believe what she was seeing. "They weren't supposed to be here," she said. "We didn't get any notice. They just came." That made it even more special. They didn't come for a photo. They didn't come for a headline. They came because they wanted to be there. They walked slowly through the crowd, shaking hands, hugging parents, kneeling beside children, thanking nurses. Every step they took, someone cried. Someone smiled. Someone felt less alone. One boy in a wheelchair said, "Are you real?" William laughed softly and said, "Yes, I promise." The boy smiled wide. His mother cried so hard she had to sit down. By the time they reached the doors of the building, the entire crowd had changed. No longer quiet from fear, now quiet from something else, something deep. Gratitude, healing, hope they had come without. Announcement. Without noise, without expectation, but they left behind something that everyone there would carry forever. Because on that day, in that quiet place full of pain, something beautiful had happened. William and Kate had appeared, and every heart in that crowd felt it. The crowd outside the rehab center stayed still, even after William and Kate walked through the doors. It was like no one wanted to move, as if they were afraid the moment would disappear. Some were still crying, others just stood eyes wide. Trying to take in what they had seen inside the hallway was quiet. Nurses were lined up near the walls, not because they were told to, but because they wanted to witness something real. They had spent years watching people fight pain, physical and emotional. But this felt different. Something gentle had entered their space. William walked slowly down the corridor. He didn't rush. He looked into each face he passed, nodding, shaking hands, stopping when needed. One man sat in a chair with his head down. It lost both his legs and hadn't spoken to anyone in days. When William came close, he looked up just for a second and froze. William knelt down to his level. "Hello?" he said softly. The man didn't speak. His lips trembled, and his eyes filled with water. He tried to speak, but his voice cracked. "I'm sorry, I didn't think you'd actually come." William smiled gently. "I'm here because of you, and that was it." The man burst into tears. His hand shook. A nurse nearby quickly walked away, wiping her face. Another whispered, "He hasn't cried since he came here. He held it all in, until now, in the next room." Kate stood beside a hospital bed. A teenage girl named Leela was lying there. Her face was pale. Her eyes looked tired. She had been in rehab for months after a terrible accident. She didn't talk to anyone, not even her parents some days. Kate gently sat on the chair beside. Her bed she didn't start with a question. She simply placed her hand over Leela's and smiled. "You don't have to talk," Kate said softly. "I'm just here to sit with you." Lila stared at her in silence. Minutes passed. No one spoke. Then slowly, Lila turned her head and whispered, "Thank you for coming." Kate looked at her kindly. "Thank you for letting me sit here." Outside the room, Lila's mother pressed both hands to her mouth. Her shoulders shook as tears poured down her cheeks. "She hasn't spoken in weeks," she whispered. She finally spoke. Another woman came forward. She held a necklace in her hand, a silver chain that belonged to her son. He had passed away in the same building 2 years ago. She had kept it with her ever since. She approached Kate carefully. "He always believed someone important would come here one day," she said, her voice soft and shaking. "I didn't believe him, but here you are." Kate took the necklace gently and looked down at it. "He was right," she said, "and he mattered." The woman fell into Kate's arms, crying harder than she had in years. One nurse in the corner whispered, "I've worked here for over a decade. I've never seen people cry like this, not from sadness, but from something else. Like something heavy is finally lifting." William walked into the rehab gym where a group of veterans sat in a circle. They were talking quietly until he entered. All of them stood. One man, holding a walking stick, looked at him and said, "We're not used to visits like this." William smiled. "That's why we came." They sat him down, and one by one, they shared their stories, not all at once, but slowly, as if they had been waiting for someone who would really listen. And William did. He didn't look at his watch. He didn't check his phone. He looked into their eyes and nodded, his own eyes growing red with each word spoken. Kate later joined him there. She placed her hand on one man's shoulder and said, "Thank you for your bravery," he replied, voice cracking. "No one said that to me in years." Tears everywhere. Tears from men who thought they had run out of them. Tears from women who had forgotten what kindness felt like. Tears from nurses who had seen too much pain and not enough light. Back outside, more people had gathered. Word had spread. Locals, neighbors, even strangers came and stood near the gate, just hoping to see something, anything. They didn't expect to meet the Royals. They just wanted to be near the feeling. One child held a sign that said, "Thank you for remembering us," a woman nearby said. "They didn't come for cameras. They came for hearts." She was right, because inside that building, in every hallway, every room, something was changing, not loudly, but deeply. And it all began the moment they appeared. The smell of warm tea floated through the hall as the sun moved behind the clouds. Inside the rehab center, time felt slow. But no one wanted to rush. No one wanted this day to end. Prince William and Princess Kate were still inside, still walking, room by room, still touching lives without saying too much. People whispered to each other in the hallways. Some nurses held hands, their eyes red. A few parents who didn't even know each other were now sitting close, sharing stories of pain, grief, and quiet hope. Something beautiful was happening. You could feel it in the air. William entered a room where an older man sat by the window. The man wore a simple uniform shirt and had medals on the shelf beside him. His name was Gerald. He had served in 3 wars and lost both his brothers in the army. He never talked about it, not even to the nurses. William sat down slowly beside him. "I heard you've seen a lot," William said gently. Gerald looked out the window. His voice was low. Too much. The room fell quiet. William didn't rush to speak. He just nodded, showing he understood. Then Gerald slowly picked up a photograph from the table. It showed 3 young men in uniform, all smiling. "These were my brothers," he whispered, "both gone. No one ever comes to ask about them, but now you're here." William looked at the photo for a long time. His voice was soft. "They're still remembered. You are too." Tears rolled down Gerald's face. Not loud, not fast, but full of years he had kept inside, in another room. Kate found a young mother named Amina. Her son Adam had suffered a brain injury in an accident. He was only 8. He had not spoken in 2 months. His eyes moved, but his lips never did. Doctors had no clear answers. Kate walked in slowly and smiled. She sat beside Adam and gently touched his fingers. "Hello, little one," she whispered. He blinked, then looked at her face. Amina watched, not expecting anything. Her heart had already gone quiet from too many days of nothing. Kate pulled a tiny paper crown from her bag and placed it on Adam's head. "Now, you're the prince," she said, smiling. And then something happened. Adam smiled. Just for a second, a real true smile. Amina gasped loudly. She covered her mouth and began to cry. Smiled. She whispered again and again. Smiled. Kate hugged her. Both women cried quietly together. It was not a loud cry. It was the kind of cry that comes when something long lost suddenly returns. Outside that room, staff were whispering. "Did you hear?" The boy in room 4 smiled. It was small news, but in a place filled with so much pain, small things were miracles. William stepped into the therapy room, where younger veterans were learning to walk again. One man fell during his steps, hit the mat hard, breathing fast. He looked up and froze. William was there, reaching out a hand. "I fall too," William said, helping him up. "It's not about falling, it's about getting back up." Young man stood taller. The others clapped quietly. Suddenly, even the small daily pain of rehab felt lighter. Back near the entrance, Kate joined a group of children drawing on the floor. One girl showed her a picture of the building. "Is this your home?" Kate asked. The girl nodded. "I live here because I can't walk much." Kate looked into her eyes. "And you're very brave for being here." The girl leaned in and whispered, "I wish you lived here too." Kate smiled and hugged her tight. "You already live in our hearts?" That sentence reached everyone in the room. A nurse nearby had to turn away as her eyes filled with tears. Meanwhile, outside the building, more people had gathered. They stood at the gate quietly, watching the windows, hoping to get a glimpse. Some brought flowers, others brought photos. All of them came for the same reason. Something inside them was broken, and today, they wanted to feel whole. A young boy on his father's shoulders held a handwritten sign. "Please don't leave yet." The moment was not about royalty. It was about being seen, being held, being reminded that pain didn't make them invisible. William and Kate stayed longer than planned. They canceled their next stop. They chose to remain in that building, walking slowly, room by room, so they didn't miss a single person, because every person there mattered, and they made sure every single one knew it. The sky had started to turn golden as the sun lowered gently behind the trees. The building felt different now. Softer, lighter, like a deep breath had passed through it and taken away something heavy. But outside, no one had left. More people had come. Some brought candles. Others stood in silence, their eyes on the door, hoping for one last moment. Inside, William and Kate were still walking slowly, gently, carefully. They had no cameras, no script, no plan. Only hearts wide open, Kate entered the dining area where an art wall had been set up. Children's drawings were pinned up houses, stars, stick figures, a few rainbows. But one drawing caught her eye. It was a simple sketch of a soldier with angel wings. Below it, in shaky letters, were the words, "My dad, my hero." Kate stood still, holding back tears. A boy walked in behind her. He was small, maybe 6. Holding his mother's hand, she whispered, "He made that." Kate knelt beside him. "Is this your daddy?" The boy nodded. Kate smiled, but her eyes were wet. "He'd be so proud of you." The boy whispered, "I still talk to him when I look at the stars." Kate hugged him tightly. His mother began to cry quietly, not just because of the words, but because someone had finally seen their pain and cared. At the same time, William visited the memory garden outside. It was quiet there. Small flowers grew in rows, and each one had a name beside it. It's the names of soldiers, nurses, and even children who had passed through the center. William stopped at one flower, bent down, and read the name aloud. Then he closed. His eyes, no one spoke, but one of the nurses watching him whispered, "He just gave that soul a moment of silence." That means everything. Before they left, William and Kate gathered in the main hall with staff and patients. No stage, no speech, just people, real tired. Beautiful people who had been through more than anyone could guess. Kate looked around and said softly, "We came here to visit, but we are the ones who feel changed." William added, "This place is full of bravery. It's not the kind that shouts, the quiet kind. The kind that gets up every day, even when it hurts." Some people cried openly. Nurses, families, patients. They clapped out loud, but with full hearts. The sound echoed through the building like a soft heartbeat. One young woman stepped forward. She had been silent all day. She had lost her brother in war and never found the words to talk about it. But now, with trembling hands, she held up a dog tag on a chain and said he would have loved this moment. He would have stood taller today. Kate stepped toward her and wrapped her in a warm embrace. "And today," she whispered, "we all stood taller because of him." A man who had not spoken to his group in 3 weeks suddenly said, "I feel proud again." A child drew a big red heart on the wall with the words, "They came and saw us." Someone brought out a blank journal and placed it on a table. Above it, a sign was added. "Tell your story. You matter." One by one, people began to write. Some wrote names, some wrote thanks. Others left drawings. It became more than a book. It became a record of healing. And just before William and Kate stepped outside to leave, something unexpected happened. The crowd outside began to sing, a soft, shaky, but powerful sound. "God Save the King," not shouted, not performed, just sung with feeling. Some had tears running down their faces. Others held their hands over their hearts. Some just closed their eyes and let the moment wash over them. William and Kate stood still at the door, their eyes full. Then they stepped forward, into the light, and something incredible happened. People didn't scream or cheer. They didn't rush. They simply clapped. Slow, steady, full of meaning. One man whispered, "This is the sound of respect." Another mother cried, "This is what it means to be seen." William and Kate waved gently, their faces soft, full of love. They didn't just visit, they changed. Something. They gave people back a piece of themselves. The car pulled away slowly, and even after it was gone, no one left. They stood in the soft, golden light, holding each other, wiping tears, knowing something powerful had just happened. Not a royal visit, eh? Human one. One that would never be forgotten. Because sometimes when the world forgets you, someone still shows up. and when they do, it moves everyone to tears.